Her friend sent me a TikTok she posted of me sleeping. Captioned, POV, settling until you can upgrade. I don't even have a TikTok account. I downloaded it and sent it to her entire family group chat as a holiday greeting. Her father replied, "This what you do to people who treat you right?" 94 missed calls since. Sometimes the most revealing moments in a relationship come when you least expect them, delivered to your inbox on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I'd been dating Lisa for just over a year. We met through mutual friends at a brewery opening. She was vivacious, quick-witted, and had this infectious laugh that made everyone around her smile. For me, it was almost immediate. By our third date, I was already imagining a future together. Lisa worked in marketing for a cosmetics company, constantly connected to social media as part of her job. I'd occasionally make appearances on her Instagram, usually candid shots of us hiking or at dinner. Nothing I objected to. I'm more private by nature. I have basic social media accounts but rarely post. TikTok was something I'd successfully avoided altogether, despite Lisa's repeated attempts to convert me. "You're missing out on an entire cultural phenomenon," she'd tease. I'd just shrug and say, "I'll survive somehow." Our relationship had been good. Not perfect, but whose is? We had the usual disagreements about time management. I'm a planner, she's spontaneous, and finances. I'm a saver, she enjoys retail therapy, but nothing major. I'd even started looking at rings, thinking about proposing around our upcoming anniversary. Then came the Tuesday. I was at my desk, working through a pile of spreadsheets for a client presentation, when a text from Jen popped up on my phone. Jen was one of Lisa's friends, someone I'd always gotten along with but wasn't particularly close to. "Hey Eric, not sure if I should send this, but I'd want to know if it were me. Lisa posted this yesterday and it's getting a lot of views. I don't think it's right." Attached was a TikTok link. I clicked it, somewhat confused since I didn't even have the app installed. My phone automatically opened a browser version of the video. There I was, asleep in my own bed, morning light filtering through my blinds. The camera panned from my sleeping form to Lisa making an exaggerated grimace, pointing back at me. Text overlay read, "POV, settling until you can upgrade." The caption below, "Girls, sometimes you take what's available while waiting for what you deserve. Hashtag settling for now, hashtag where are all the good men, hashtag upgrade soon." The video had over 15,000 views. The comments were a mix of supportive, "you deserve better girl," messages, and the occasional, "this is kinda mean." I recognized several of Lisa's friends in the supportive comments, including people who had been friendly to my face at gatherings. I watched it 3 times, each viewing revealing new layers of humiliation. This wasn't just a private joke. This was Lisa publicly declaring that I was essentially a placeholder, someone she was tolerating until something better came along. All while I was asleep, vulnerable, in my own home. I texted Jen back, "Thanks for sending this. I had no idea." "I'm really sorry," she replied. "I just thought it was messed up. She's been posting stuff like this for a while, but this crossed a line." For a while, I scrolled through the comments again and noticed Lisa responding to someone, not the first time I've shared the struggle, with a link to her profile. I didn't have a TikTok account, so I couldn't easily view her profile. I sat there for a moment, staring at my computer screen without really seeing it, trying to process this revelation. The woman I was considering proposing to was essentially using me as content for her social media, portraying our relationship as some kind of burden she was heroically enduring. I could have confronted her immediately, could have called or texted, demanding explanations, but something held me back. I wanted to understand the full picture first. I downloaded TikTok, created an account, and searched for Lisa's profile. There it was. Nearly 20,000 followers with a bio that read, "Documenting the journey to finding my worth." I scrolled through her videos, and my stomach sank further with each one. While not all were about me, there was a recurring theme: her relationship with Mr. Good Enough for Now, apparently her nickname for me. Videos of me cooking dinner captioned, "At least he can cook, since he can't dress himself." Clips of me explaining something about my work, with a caption suggesting I was boring her to death. A video of me carefully wrapping her birthday present with "It's cute how hard he tries" overlaid. Interspersed were videos of celebrity men and random attractive guys she'd spotted in public, with captions like, "Upgrade material" and "The goal." Hundreds of comments from women encouraging her, telling her to never settle, to keep looking for her king. All while I had been saving for a ring. The more I watched, the more a strange calm settled over me. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment or a single poor decision. This was a pattern, a deliberate choice to use our relationship, to use me, as content, as a stepping stone in her social media narrative. I closed the app and sat in silence for a while, contemplating my next steps. The relationship was clearly over. That wasn't even a question. But the manner of ending it, that required some thought. Lisa had made me unwittingly play a role in her public performance. Perhaps it was time for me to write my own scene. I knew that Lisa's family was fairly conservative and traditional. Her parents, particularly her father, had always been kind to me, treating me like a potential son-in-law rather than just their daughter's boyfriend. They weren't particularly tech-savvy, but did have a family group chat that included Lisa, her parents, her two brothers, and her grandmother. They primarily used it to coordinate family dinners and share holiday greetings. The timing was perfect. Thanksgiving was just 2 weeks away, and the family chat had been active with planning discussions. I took screenshots of the original TikTok, along with several others where she'd been particularly dismissive of me. I saved the video itself as well. Then I composed a simple message. "Good evening, everyone. I wanted to share something Lisa recently posted about our relationship. I thought you might be interested in seeing how she views someone she's been dating for over a year. Looking forward to Thanksgiving. Eric." I attached the video and screenshots, then hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I blocked Lisa's number, turned off my phone, and went for a long walk. I needed the time to clear my head, to process the end of what I had thought was a relationship heading toward marriage. When I returned home and turned my phone back on, it exploded with notifications. 14 missed calls from Lisa. 28 text messages ranging from confused, "Why did you send that to my family?" to angry, "How dare you?" to pleading, "Please call me, I can explain." There were also messages from her brothers, both apologetic and clearly embarrassed by their sister's behavior, and one text from her father that simply read, "This what you do to people who treat you right? Your mother and I raised you better than this. We need to talk, young lady." Lisa's mother had sent me a separate message. "Eric, I don't even know what to say. This isn't how we raised her. I'm so sorry." I didn't respond to any of them. I turned my phone off again and slept surprisingly well for someone whose relationship had just imploded. The next morning, the missed call count had reached 47. By evening, 68. Lisa had begun calling from friends' phones when she realized I'd blocked her number. She'd shown up at my apartment twice, but I wasn't home. I decided to stay with a friend for a few days to avoid the inevitable confrontation while emotions were still raw. 3 days after sending the video to her family, I finally answered one of her calls. "Why would you do that to me?" she demanded, her voice a mix of anger and tears. "Do you know how humiliated I am? My dad won't even speak to me now." "Why would I do that to you?" I repeated, keeping my voice calm. "Lisa, you recorded me sleeping in my own bed and posted it online for thousands of strangers to see, telling them I was someone you were settling for. What exactly did you expect?" "It was just content. It's not that serious. Everyone does it. Everyone records their partners without consent and publicly demeans them." "You're taking it too literally. It's just TikTok humor. My followers know it's partly an act." "But I didn't know it was an act because you never told me I was being featured on your account. You never asked for my permission, and from what I saw scrolling through your videos, it didn't seem like much of an act at all." She switched tactics. "I'm sorry if you were hurt. That wasn't my intention, but sending it to my entire family, that was deliberately trying to hurt me." "Maybe," I acknowledged. "Or maybe I just thought they deserved to see who you really are when you think no one's watching. The same courtesy you didn't extend to me." "So what now?" she asked after a long pause. "Now nothing. We're done, Lisa. I was looking at engagement rings last month, and you were telling the internet I was your placeholder until someone better came along. There's no coming back from that. She started crying then, real tears from the sound of it. I didn't mean it like that. I love you. The TikTok stuff, it's just content. It's not real. The problem is, our relationship wasn't real to you either. It was just material. I was just material. I ended the call while she was still protesting. By Thanksgiving, the missed call count had reached 94, spread across her number, friends' phones, even a couple of calls from a business line I didn't recognize. I spent Thanksgiving with my family, deliberately keeping my phone off for most of the day. When I finally checked it that evening, there was a single text from Lisa's father. Lisa won't be joining us for dinner today. Her mother and I made it clear that until she sincerely apologizes to you and takes accountability for her actions, she needs to reflect on her choices. We didn't raise her to treat people this way. For what it's worth, we always thought you were good for her. Clearly, she didn't deserve you. Happy Thanksgiving, son. That text hit me harder than I expected. I'd always liked Lisa's parents, had genuinely enjoyed the family dinners and holiday gatherings with them. In some ways, I was losing them in this breakup too. It's been 3 weeks now. Lisa has finally stopped calling, though I still get the occasional text pleading for another chance. According to mutual friends, she's posted several tearful apology videos on TikTok, claiming to have learned a valuable lesson about privacy and respect. Her follower count has actually increased. Apparently, nothing drives engagement like relationship drama. I've moved on as best I can. Returned the ring I was considering and put the money toward a solo trip to Peru I've always wanted to take. Started therapy to process the relationship and my own role in it. Why didn't I notice the signs earlier? Was I so invested in the idea of us that I missed who she really was? The hardest part wasn't even the public humiliation. It was realizing that while I was planning a future, she was planning content. While I was falling in love, she was crafting a narrative where I was just a stepping stone to something better. As for TikTok, I deleted the account I created to view her videos. Some cultural phenomena I'm still happy to miss out on. Edit. A lot of you are asking if I feel bad about ruining her relationship with her family. I don't. I didn't force her to record me without consent. I didn't force her to post demeaning content about our relationship. I simply showed her family what she was already showing thousands of strangers. If that damaged their relationship, that's on her, not me. Edit 2. To clarify on the legality question some have raised, yes, recording someone sleeping without their consent and posting it publicly can indeed be illegal in many places. I consulted with a lawyer friend who confirmed this violates both privacy laws and potentially platform terms of service. I chose not to pursue legal action because, frankly, I just wanted to move on. Edit 3. For those saying you should have talked to her first. What exactly was there to talk about? Hey, I noticed you've been creating content for months, portraying me as someone you're settling for. Can we discuss that? The relationship was already over the moment I saw that video. The only question was how to end it. Edit 4. Update. It's been 2 months now. Yesterday, I ran into Lisa's mother at the grocery store. She hugged me and said Lisa's finally started therapy to work through her need for validation from strangers. Apparently, the TikTok incident was just the most visible symptom of deeper issues. Sometimes the most painful endings lead to necessary beginnings for everyone involved. During girls' night, my fiancé went live on social media. She didn't know I was watching from a fake account. Someone asked if she loved me. She said, "He's convenient, not forever." Her friends laughed. I just closed the app. Now she's screaming outside my building after 53 unanswered messages. My name's Tyler. I'm 30. I work in IT. Nothing crazy. Mostly back-end troubleshooting and helping people reset passwords they've already written down wrong. Life's stable. My job's predictable. I don't do drama. Jenna, my fiancée, was the opposite of that. She's 28, runs the front desk at a car dealership. Smart, funny, kind when she wants to be. She can talk anyone into anything. I've seen her convince a guy to upgrade his car warranty while talking about reality TV and eating drive-through fries. And she lives on social media. Every outfit, every latte, every joke someone else made that she reposted like it was hers, it all went up online. Stories, TikToks, Reels, Lives. She called it just for fun. But it wasn't. She had followers. Not influencer level, but enough to think she was building a brand. At first, I didn't care. I'm not one of those, "Why are you posting yourself online" guys. It made her happy. She wasn't doing anything shady, or so I thought. A few weeks ago, she said she was doing a girls' night. Nothing big. Wine, some snacks, maybe a rom-com. Just her and 2 close friends from work. She texted me around 7 p.m. with a "love you, see you tomorrow," and a wine emoji. Cool. I stayed in, ordered Chinese, watched some dumb movie she would have made fun of. Then, around 10:45, something hit me. She hadn't posted anything. Not one photo. Not one girl's story. No clips of her friends dancing to some throwback song. For someone who posts when the sky looks slightly different, it was weird. I opened Instagram out of habit. That's when I remembered something I hadn't thought about in over a year. An old account. Back when I was testing out multi-stream settings for a side project, I made a burner IG to see what streams look like from the viewer side. Different name, no photo, just a blank account. On a whim, I logged in, scrolled a bit, then I saw it. Jenna was live. The title just said "Girls." Classic Jenna energy. I tapped in. There were maybe 20 people watching. Her 2 friends were in the background, sitting on a couch with wine glasses, music playing low. Jenna was front and center, sitting cross-legged, reading comments out loud and laughing. She looked tipsy. Nothing new. Someone typed in the comments, "Are you bringing your man to the wedding planning stuff or nah?" Jenna laughed. Her friend leaned in and said, "Yeah, is Tyler even involved?" And then it happened. Jenna smirked and said, "He's convenient. Not forever." Her friends cracked up. Someone typed "lol savage" in the chat. Another one dropped crying emojis. Jenna just sipped her wine and smiled at the camera. I didn't comment. I didn't screen record. I didn't message her. I just closed the app, set my phone down, stared at the blank TV screen in front of me and realized I just watched my fiancée audition for Single Life, Live. And the worst part? She thought no one who mattered would see it. The next morning, she came home like nothing happened, dropped her overnight bag by the door, kicked her shoes off, made a joke about how much wine they had. I asked her how it went. She said, "Chill. Nothing crazy, just needed a night with the girls." I nodded. Cool, that was it. No hint of anything different on my face, no sharp tone, no passive-aggressive side comments. She didn't know I'd seen it. She didn't know I'd heard her say it. He's convenient, not forever. She poured herself coffee and started scrolling through her phone while I cooked breakfast. That's when I knew I wasn't going to say anything. Not right away. Because the worst thing you can do to someone who thinks they're above consequences is let them hang themselves slowly with their own words. Over the next few days, I didn't get colder. I got quieter. When she kissed me, I kissed her back. When she texted, I replied. But I stopped asking about her day. I stopped checking in on plans. I let her take the lead on everything, and I watched. She started noticing by day 3. "You okay?" "Yeah." "You're acting weird." "Just tired." I wasn't tired. I was focused. While she danced through her stories and posted selfies with captions like "wedding prep vibes," I was moving behind the scenes. I logged into our wedding venue booking account and initiated a cancellation request. We were still within the window to get half back. I called my bank and had my name pulled from the joint savings account we opened for honeymoon funds. I emailed my landlord and told them I'd be vacating a month early, asked if I could sign a short-term extension on a smaller 1-bedroom unit. They agreed. Then I logged back into the burner IG and watched the live replay. Yes, she had left it up, still public, still proud. I took a screenshot of the exact moment, her sitting on that couch, glass in hand, with her "he's convenient" line floating in the comment overlay. I didn't share it, I didn't forward it, I just saved it. Then I got a message from someone I barely knew, someone mutual. A girl I'd met once through Jenna. It came through the burner account. No intro, just "Dude, you saw that live?" I didn't reply, because, yeah, I did, and I was already halfway gone. The decision wasn't dramatic. There wasn't a big moment where I stared in the mirror and gave myself a pep talk. It was more like checking out of a hotel room. Quiet, mechanical, just done. I waited until Thursday. She worked the late shift that day. Wouldn't be home until after 8. That gave me 5 full hours to clear out. I had already boxed up the essentials, just needed to get them out of the apartment without her seeing. The movers were in and out in under an hour, just a 1-bedroom job. My clothes, my desktop, a few personal things. Nothing messy, nothing she'd even notice gone until she opened a drawer. I left the ring in a glass on the counter, didn't write a note, didn't send a text, didn't even close the bedroom door. I left her Instagram open on the iPad. She was still posting that day. A mirror selfie captioned "feeling myself," and a poll asking if she should do her nails nude or red for bridal photos. I muted the volume before I left. When she got home, I imagine it went something like this. She opens the door, tosses her bag onto the couch, calls my name once, maybe twice, sees the empty shelves, the missing drawers, the ring in the glass, then the phone calls start. The first one came in at 8:42 p.m. I was already on the other side of town, setting up my new Wi-Fi router in a quiet little apartment that didn't smell like someone else's dry shampoo. Then another call, and another. She started with confusion. "Hey, where are you? Did something happen?" Then denial. "This has to be a joke. You're seriously doing this over a stupid live stream?" Then guilt. "I didn't mean it like that. You took it out of context." Then anger. "Grow up, Tyler. You just bailed? That's cowardly." By midnight, I had 34 missed calls. I didn't answer. She tried FaceTiming me the next morning, then again at lunch. Then she emailed. Subject line: "Can we please talk?" No, we couldn't, because we already did. I just wasn't in the room when she said it. He's convenient. Not forever. Cool. Then I guess forever ends here. The first public post came 2 days later. Black and white selfie, hair messy, hoodie zipped halfway up. Caption: "Some people just can't handle a strong woman." Classic. The comments were mostly her followers hyping her up. Heart emojis. Preach. "You're glowing, sis." But mixed in, buried deeper, were a few like, "Is this about the live? That stream was messy, af girl. Convenient, huh?" She deleted those. But more came. Apparently someone had screen recorded the live. Not me, some random viewer. They posted it to their story and tagged her. No caption, just the clip, her face, that line, the laugh track in the background. I didn't need to say a word. She tried to clean it up. She posted a story talking about taken out of context comments and how she was being playful with her girls. She never mentioned my name, never said I'd left. But people could do the math. 1 minute she's planning a wedding. Next minute she's posting heartbreak quotes and blaming the internet. A mutual friend texted me, "Dude, I think she's spiraling." That afternoon she showed up at my new place. I was watching a game, half asleep on the couch, when I heard the banging on the front door, followed by her voice yelling my name. Over and over. I didn't get up, I didn't even mute the TV. She kept yelling, said she just wanted to talk, said she could explain, said this didn't have to be permanent. She didn't know I'd already signed a short-term lease with an option to extend. She didn't know I'd already set my wedding deposit refund back to my personal account. I let her yell. After 10 minutes, she left. I waited a full hour before I sent her a single message. No greeting, no punctuation, just, "You called me convenient, I believed you." She sent back a wall of text. I never opened it. It's been 3 weeks. The text stopped around day 10. She finally gave up trying to get a reply, or maybe just got tired of talking to herself. Her Instagram went dark for a while. Then it popped back up with a social media break announcement. Caption said something like, "Healing, growing, relearning how to love myself." Sure. A mutual friend mentioned she lost a few close followers. People stopped reacting to her stories. Apparently, one of her own friends told her to take accountability for once. That comment disappeared pretty fast. As for me, I'm good. My new place is quiet. My fridge isn't stocked with photo props. My weekends aren't scheduled around content ideas. I sleep better. Eat slower, watch movies without having to check the lighting. I didn't change my number, didn't block her. I just stopped responding. The last thing she ever sent me came late one night. Simple text. No emojis, no dramatic intro. "We were supposed to be forever." I waited a minute, then replied, "That's what I thought, until I heard you say it wasn't." No follow-up, no reply, nothing. I locked my phone, placed its screen down, and went back to living a life that didn't include someone who needed a live audience to feel important. I noticed my wife spent hours on LinkedIn but never talked about work. One night, I checked the screen and saw her flirting with her ex over DMs. I asked calmly, "Password or divorce?" She didn't say a word, just locked her phone and rolled over. The next morning, she woke up to my side of the closet empty and a copy of the divorce papers on the kitchen table. It's strange how your brain picks up on patterns before you consciously realize something's wrong. For months, I'd been noticing my wife Allison's sudden interest in her professional development. 3, sometimes 4 hours every evening, hunched over her phone, scrolling through LinkedIn. Yet she never mentioned networking events, job opportunities, or industry connections. I'm Alex, 41. I restore and preserve historic architecture, own a specialized firm that works on landmark buildings across the country. Allison, 39, is a veterinary radiologist at a specialty animal hospital. We've been married for 11 years, no kids by mutual choice, which gave us the freedom to build our careers and travel extensively. The first red flag appeared 6 months ago. Allison started bringing her work tablet home, something she'd never done before. New protocol? She explained when I asked. We need to be available for emergency consultations on difficult cases. I accepted this without question. Trust had never been an issue between us. Then came the LinkedIn obsession. Every night after dinner, she'd retreat to the couch or our bedroom, endlessly scrolling. Whenever I'd walk by, she'd angle the screen away or quickly switch to another app. Just catching up on veterinary journals, she'd say with a dismissive wave. The third flag was the password change. Allison and I had always shared our phone passwords, not because we snooped, but for practicality. Suddenly, her phone was locked with a new code she forgot to tell me about. Still, I said nothing. Made excuses for her in my head. Maybe she really was focused on advancing her career. Maybe I was being paranoid. Until last Wednesday night. I came home early from a client meeting to find Allison in our bedroom, so engrossed in her phone that she didn't hear me enter. I caught a glimpse of her screen over her shoulder. Definitely not LinkedIn's professional blue interface, but the direct message section. A man's profile picture was visible. The messages made my stomach drop. I miss how your body feels against mine. Allison's reply, patience, working on untangling things here. It's complicated. His response, 11 years seems like a long time to waste with the wrong person. I stepped back into the hallway, my mind racing, took a deep breath, counted to 10, then walked in normally as if I'd just arrived. Hey, how was your day? I asked casually. She jumped slightly, locking her phone. Fine. The usual. How was your meeting? Ended early. What are you working on? I nodded toward her phone. Just LinkedIn. Boring work stuff. I sat on the edge of the bed. Kept my voice even. Allison, I saw the messages. Who's David? Her expression cycled through shock, denial, and finally cold defiance. You were spying on me? No. I walked in and saw your screen. Who's David? She sat up straighter. An old friend. We're just catching up. I miss how your body feels against mine. Is catching up? Her eyes narrowed. You're taking that out of context. What possible context would make that appropriate between a married woman and another man? We have history, she said defensively. It's complicated. Complicated how? You either respect our marriage or you don't. She crossed her arms. It's just harmless flirting. Everyone does it. I don't, I replied, and neither should you. God, Alex, she huffed. You're making this into such a bigger deal than it is. We're just talking. About how he misses your body? About how you've wasted 11 years with the wrong person? My voice remained calm, but I could feel my pulse rising. That's not just talking, Allison. You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand how you could betray my trust like this. Betray? She laughed, a harsh sound I'd never heard from her before. It's text messages, not an affair. An emotional affair is still an affair, I countered. And based on what I saw, you're planning for more than just messages. You saw a 10-second snippet of a conversation. You have no idea what's really going on. I looked at her directly. Then enlighten me. Show me your phone. Let me see for myself what's really going on. Her expression hardened. Absolutely not. I have a right to privacy. Not when it comes to other men discussing your body and disparaging our marriage. You're overreacting. Am I? Then prove it. Show me there's nothing to worry about. She clutched her phone tighter. I'm not giving you my phone just because you're insecure. This is controlling behavior, Alex. I took a deep breath. Let me be very clear, Allison. This isn't about control. It's about trust. Trust that you've clearly broken. So I'm going to make this simple. Password or divorce? Your choice. She stared at me for a long moment, then deliberately locked her phone and rolled over. I'm going to sleep. We can talk about your trust issues tomorrow. In that moment, everything became clear. I didn't need to see more messages, didn't need to hire a PI or check phone records. Her response told me everything. I waited until her breathing steadied with sleep. Then I got up and went to my study. This wasn't the first time I'd considered our marriage might be in trouble. I'd actually consulted with my attorney 3 months prior when I first noticed Allison's secretive behavior, just to understand my options if things deteriorated. I called him at his home number, apologizing for the late hour. As a longtime client and friend, he understood the urgency. We discussed the situation, and he agreed to have preliminary paperwork prepared for review by early morning. At 5:30 a.m., I went to our closet and quietly packed my essential belongings, enough clothes for 2 weeks, important documents, irreplaceable mementos. Loaded everything into my car. Then I returned to the kitchen and executed the plan I'd formed overnight. First, I transferred half the funds from our joint accounts to my new personal account, legally appropriate as a pre-divorce protective measure in our state. I left the other half untouched, ensuring Allison would have immediate access to funds during the transition. Second, I followed up with my lawyer, who had divorce papers prepared based on our earlier conversation and midnight update. He arranged for electronic filing to open when courts opened at 9 a.m., and a courier to deliver my copy by 8:30. Third, I contacted my office manager, who started work at 6 a.m., to make necessary arrangements. Allison's health insurance was through my company's plan, and she occasionally used one of our company vehicles for emergency hospital visits. We decided that her health insurance would continue until the divorce was finalized as legally required, but made arrangements regarding the vehicle access within the standard 30-day period our policies specified. Fourth, I emailed our property manager to inform him I'd be moving out temporarily, but as the sole owner of the condo, purchased before our marriage, with money from a restoration project I completed before we met, and maintained entirely with funds from my separate account throughout our marriage, I would continue making payments. Allison would need to make arrangements within 60 days, double the legally required notice in our state. By 8 a.m., the papers had arrived. I placed them on the kitchen table with a note. Allison, your silence was your choice. These are mine. You have 60 days to make new living arrangements. All communication should go through my lawyer, Alex. I left my house key and wedding ring on top of the papers, took one last look around the home we'd shared, then walked out the door. At 8:43 a.m., my phone exploded with notifications. Allison had woken up to an empty closet and divorce papers. Her calls, texts, and emails poured in. This is insane. Call me right now. You're throwing away 11 years over nothing. You can't just kick me out. This is my home too. Answer your phone. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I checked into the extended stay hotel I'd arranged that morning, set up my workspace, and continued my workday as scheduled. Allison's next move was predictable. She called my parents, my sister, even my college roommate, told them I'd lost my mind and was making wild accusations about her friendship with an old colleague. I had anticipated this. Before she could spin her narrative, I'd sent brief, factual messages to key family members. Allison and I are divorcing due to her infidelity. I have evidence but prefer to keep this private. I'm safe and staying elsewhere for now. I'll explain more when I'm ready. No drama, no details, just facts. By evening, Allison had shifted from anger to bargaining. Her messages took a desperate tone. Can we please just talk about this? I'll give you my password now. It was a stupid conversation that meant nothing. Please come home. We can fix this. I maintained my silence. Her words meant nothing against her actions. The next day, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. David. Allison had given him my private number. Look, man, there's been a misunderstanding. Allison and I are just old friends. Nothing physical has happened. I cut him off. I don't care what you and Allison are. That's no longer my concern. Please don't contact me again. I hung up and blocked his number. 3 days later, Allison showed up at my office. My receptionist, who had been briefed on the situation, stopped her in the lobby. Allison created a scene, crying and demanding to see me. Building security escorted her out. That evening, I received an email from her with screenshots of their LinkedIn conversations, claiming they proved nothing inappropriate had happened. But she'd only included recent sanitized messages, a laughable attempt at damage control. What she didn't know: I'd maintained our home router's connection logs as part of regular maintenance. Every device that connected to our Wi-Fi had its basic connection data recorded. Not content, but timestamps and service information. The logs showed her spending hours connected to LinkedIn servers during the exact time she claimed to be researching cases. While I couldn't see specific message content, the pattern matched perfectly with her suspicious behavior. More importantly, her work tablet frequently connected to our Wi-Fi during these sessions, contradicting her claim that she was using it exclusively for emergency consultations. I didn't need to see the content of those thousands of messages. The patterns told the story. 1 week into our separation, Allison's animal hospital announced budget cuts, including eliminating her position. Her timing couldn't have been worse. With no income, she faced the prospect of finding both a new job and a new place to live. I instructed my lawyer to ensure her health insurance continued through COBRA as legally required, with the initial premium covered as part of our eventual settlement. She tried using this to garner sympathy, sending messages about how I was leaving her destitute at the worst possible time. I forwarded these to my lawyer without response. My lawyer advised me Allison had hired an attorney known for pursuing substantial settlements. Their first demand: half the value of our condo, ongoing spousal support, and a portion of my business. My lawyer's response included comprehensive documentation: the property deed showing I purchased the condo 2 years before our marriage with profits from a major restoration project, bank records confirming I had made every mortgage payment from my separate account throughout our marriage, and our prenuptial agreement, which Allison had apparently forgotten, specified that infidelity, even emotional infidelity with documented intent to leave the marriage, was grounds for limiting certain financial considerations. Their demands were swiftly reduced. After the mandatory waiting period in our state, 90 days, the divorce proceedings continued. The final settlement was reasonable. Allison received a one-time payment equivalent to 6 months of her former salary, her personal belongings, and continued health insurance coverage for 6 months. Her access to any company resources was terminated, as our policies required. The divorce was finalized within 6 months, faster than the state average of 9 to 12 months for contested divorces. It's been a year now. I've moved back into my condo after having it completely redecorated. Nothing remains to remind me of Allison. Last week, I received a handwritten letter from her, forwarded through my lawyer. She wrote about regrets, poor decisions, and second chances. Said she'd never stopped loving me. That David was a mistake she'd pay for the rest of her life. I didn't respond. Some bridges once burned should remain ashes. People ask if I regret acting so decisively, if I should have considered counseling or forgiveness. My answer is always the same: when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Allison showed me exactly who she was when she locked her phone and rolled over that night. She chose secrecy over honesty, deception over truth. In that moment, our marriage ended. I just handled the paperwork. I don't hate Allison. I don't waste energy on bitterness. But I don't regret my decision either. Self-respect demands certain boundaries. When those boundaries are crossed, a real man doesn't negotiate, plead, or bargain. He simply walks away and rebuilds. Edit. Thanks for all the comments and support. I see some recurring questions, so I'll address them. 1. Why didn't I check her phone while she was sleeping? Because I didn't need to. Her refusal to show me was confirmation enough. I'm not interested in cataloging the details of betrayal, just recognizing when it happens. 2. Was I too harsh with the 60-day notice? No. The condo was legally mine, purchased before marriage with money from a solo project which remains separate property in most jurisdictions, and maintained entirely with my separate funds. I gave her twice the legally required notice period, and she had immediate access to half our joint accounts for expenses. 3. Did I ever find out who David was? He was her veterinary school classmate who became the one that got away in her mind. LinkedIn reconnected them when he viewed her profile. The irony: He's now married with 3 kids and was never going to leave his family. Allison was just his ego boost. Number 4. For those asking about the legality of the router logs, as the person who set up and maintained our home network, the basic connection logging was standard practice for troubleshooting. I never accessed message content or installed monitoring software on her devices. I simply observed connection patterns to services like LinkedIn. 5. Some have questioned whether I moved too quickly with the divorce. Remember, I'd already consulted my lawyer months before when I first noticed her behavior changing. The groundwork for action was already in place, not a rash overnight decision. 6. For those calling me cold or calculating, when your spouse is carrying on an emotional affair and refuses to come clean when directly confronted, what exactly is the alternative? Begging for honesty? Pretending it isn't happening? I chose clarity and decisiveness over prolonged pain. Sometimes the cleanest break is the kindest one, for both people. During a work Zoom on her laptop, my girlfriend forgot to mute her mic. I heard her whisper, "God, I hope he doesn't propose. How do you politely reject a man who pays your rent?" Her coworker said, "Just marry him, then divorce later." They laughed. I just closed my screen. This morning, she woke up to a disconnected card and 47 missed calls. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, some details changed to protect privacy. I never thought I'd be one of those guys, the ones who get used for financial stability while their partners secretly despise them. Yet here I am, still processing how 3 years of what I thought was a loving relationship collapsed in under 3 minutes. Some background. I, 34M, met Amelia, 31F, at a community garden project where I was volunteering as part of my company's outreach program. She was leading a workshop on urban sustainability, articulate and passionate about her work in marketing for environmental nonprofits. We connected over shared values and similar tastes in music, and within 6 months, we were living together in my apartment. From the beginning, we had an arrangement that made sense to both of us. I earned significantly more as a software developer than she did in the nonprofit sector. She was passionate about her work, but struggling with student loans and the financial limitations of choosing a career based on purpose rather than profit. We agreed that I'd cover the housing costs and most of our living expenses, while she would contribute by handling groceries, her car payment, and building an emergency fund for us both. It seemed fair. She got to pursue work she found meaningful, and I got to support someone I loved without feeling taken advantage of. For nearly 3 years, this setup worked beautifully. Or so I thought. We traveled together, hosted dinner parties for friends, and even started talking about long-term plans. I'd been saving for a ring, thinking about proposing on our upcoming trip to Barcelona. The truth revealed itself in the most mundane way possible. Last Wednesday, I was working from home in our second bedroom that serves as my office. Amelia was in the living room on a Zoom call with her marketing team. I had my noise-canceling headphones on, deep into coding, when I realized I needed to ask her something about dinner plans with my parents that weekend. I took off my headphones and was about to call out to her when I heard her voice, unusually hushed despite being alone in the room. Her team must have been taking a break or waiting for someone to join, because she was having what sounded like a side conversation with her coworker Jenna. "So he mentioned Barcelona might be extra special this time. God, I hope he doesn't propose. How do you politely reject a man who pays your rent?" Amelia's voice was casual, almost amused. I froze in the hallway, just out of sight of the living room. Jenna laughed. "That's awkward. Just marry him then divorce later? You'd get half his stuff." They both laughed, and Amelia continued. "I know, right? But seriously, I'm not ready to lock myself down yet, especially not to Charles. He's sweet, but so boring. Like the human equivalent of beige walls." "But those beige walls come with financial security," Jenna pointed out. "Exactly. That's the only reason I've stayed this long. My savings account has never looked better, and I've almost paid off my student loans. Another year max, and I'll have enough cushion to move on. I just need to buy time without a ring on my finger." Does he have any idea? None. He's completely clueless. Last week he was talking about maybe starting a family in the next few years, and I just nodded and smiled while mentally calculating how much more I need to save before I can get my own place. The trick is to give just enough affection to keep him happy without promising anything concrete. Someone must have rejoined their main meeting then, because Emilia's voice shifted back to her professional tone. "Oh, looks like Marcus is back. Anyway, I'll send over those campaign drafts by end of day." I silently stepped back into my office and closed the door. I felt physically ill, like someone had punched me in the stomach. 3 years of memories were suddenly recontextualizing themselves in my mind. The times she'd changed the subject when I brought up our future. The way she'd become more affectionate after I paid for something substantial. How she'd never quite integrated me into her friend group, keeping those relationships separate. I sat at my desk staring at my screen, unable to focus on code or anything else. I didn't confront her. Didn't storm out, didn't make a scene. I just sat there thinking about every dollar I'd spent supporting someone who saw me as nothing more than a financial plan. When her meeting ended, I pretended nothing had happened. We ate dinner together, watched a show, and went to bed like any other night. But I didn't sleep. Instead, I made a plan. The next morning, I woke up early and called my parents to cancel dinner, making an excuse about work. Then I contacted my bank and credit card companies. I had added Emilia as an authorized user on 2 of my credit cards for emergencies and household expenses. I requested immediate removal of her authorized user status and expedited replacement cards with new numbers for myself. Next, I logged into our utility accounts and changed the payment methods from my credit card to direct debit from my checking account, which she had no access to. I also contacted my landlord and explained I needed to discuss the lease. Finally, I texted my best friend Marco and asked if I could stay at his place for a few days. No details, just that I needed space. He immediately said yes. The hardest part was maintaining normalcy for the next 2 days. We went through our routines, and I swallowed my feelings, knowing I needed time to get everything in order. She never suspected anything was wrong, which only confirmed how little she actually paid attention to my emotional state. On Friday, she mentioned she was going out with friends after work and would be home late. Perfect timing. While she was out, I packed essential items, clothes, important documents, my work equipment, and a few sentimental possessions. I left her access to the apartment. It would be illegal to lock her out, but took the emergency credit card she kept in her desk drawer. I left a simple note on the kitchen counter. "Emilia, I heard your conversation with Jenna on Wednesday about your plans to leave once you've saved enough money. I've removed you as an authorized user from my accounts and taken back the emergency card. I'll continue covering the rent through the end of next month to give you time to make arrangements. But all other financial support ends today. I deserve better than to be someone's financial plan while they wait for something better to come along. Charles." Then I drove to Marco's place and turned off my phone. When I turned it back on Sunday morning, I had 47 missed calls from Emilia, 16 voicemails, and 39 text messages, ranging from confused to angry to pleading. Apparently, she had tried to use the credit card for a bar tab Friday night and found it declined. Coming home to an empty closet and my note had sent her into a panic. From her messages, I could track the evolution of her response. First, confusion. "What conversation with Jenna? I don't understand what's happening." Then anger. "You're overreacting to something you misheard. This is insane." Followed by damage control. "Baby, please call me. There's been a huge misunderstanding." And finally, when none of that worked, the truth with a spin. "Okay, fine. You heard something, but it wasn't what you think. I was just venting about proposal pressure. Everyone says things they don't mean sometimes." Her last few messages revealed her true concern. Not that she'd lost me, but that she'd lost her financial safety net. "I can't afford this place alone, and you know that. What am I supposed to do? I have $1,726 in my account total. My student loan payment is due next week. You can't just cut me off like this. At least talk to me about a transition plan. This isn't fair." Fair. That word stuck with me. What wasn't fair was pretending to love someone while secretly using them. Marco has been incredible through all this. When I finally told him what happened, he wasn't even surprised. Apparently, he and my other friends had noticed how transactional Emilia's affection seemed, but hadn't known how to bring it up. She was always more interested in what you could provide than who you are, he said. The most revealing part came yesterday when I finally answered a call. Not from Amelia, but from her coworker Jenna. She was horrified about what had happened. "I need you to know I never thought she was serious," Jenna said. "I thought it was just dark humor between friends. Then she told everyone at work you abandoned her without warning, and I couldn't stay silent. This isn't the first time she's done this." According to Jenna, Amelia had lived with 2 other boyfriends under similar arrangements before me. Each relationship followed the same pattern. Find a financially stable partner, create an arrangement where they covered major expenses, save aggressively, then move on when she had enough cushion. One of those exes apparently worked at the same company briefly, which is how Jenna knew the details. She has a spreadsheet, Jenna told me, with projections of how much she needs to save before she can graduate from the relationship. Your name is literally in a cell next to a dollar amount. That conversation finally helped me feel validated rather than naive. This wasn't about me being boring or beige. It was about Amelia having a calculated approach to relationships that had nothing to do with genuine connection. It's been 10 days now. I've moved back into the apartment after Amelia found a friend's place to crash at. I've given her until the end of next month to remove her things, as promised. She's tried multiple approaches to get me to reconsider. Apologizing, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, even showing up with lingerie under her coat one night. I didn't let her in. The financial aftermath has been eye-opening. Looking at my accounts, I calculated that I've spent approximately $64,000 supporting Amelia over 3 years. Rent, utilities, vacations, meals out, gifts, all while she was squirreling away her income and planning her exit. Her claims of only having $1,726 turned out to be another manipulation. After one particularly angry call where I refused to reinstate her as an authorized user, she inadvertently revealed she has a separate savings account I never knew about with over $27,000 in it. Some friends have suggested I should feel stupid for being used this way, but I don't. I entered the relationship with genuine intentions and lived according to my values. The fact that someone took advantage of that doesn't make me naive. It makes her calculating. I've already donated the engagement ring to a charity auction. Somehow, watching something that represented my manipulated future being transformed into funds for a good cause healing. As for the 47 missed calls that started this saga, they've now grown to over 100, but they're increasingly from unfamiliar numbers as Amelia apparently borrows friends' phones when she realizes I've blocked her. I've stopped answering unknown calls altogether. The strangest part of all this is how much lighter I feel despite the heartbreak. There's a peculiar relief in having your worst suspicions confirmed. No more second-guessing or wondering if you're imagining problems. I don't regret supporting someone I loved. I do regret that it wasn't real on her end. But at least I found out before a proposal, before marriage, before kids, before I became legally entangled with someone who saw me as nothing more than a financial stepping stone. If there's a lesson here, maybe it's about paying attention to the small inconsistencies in how someone treats you versus how they talk about the future. Or perhaps it's simpler. If you're going to discuss your secret plans to use and discard someone, make absolutely sure you're on mute. I've been cheating since our 3rd date, my wife told her friend over lunch. Marriage just made it more exciting. She didn't know I was sitting 2 tables behind them. I didn't interrupt, just went home, took her name off everything, and sold the car I bought her, along with every luxury item she'd racked up on my card. She got home to an empty closet and divorce papers on the kitchen table. She's been calling me every night since, screaming, crying, begging. 6 weeks ago, my life was on a predictable track. Now I'm living in a new apartment, with a new phone number, and a future that looks nothing like I'd planned, and I couldn't be more at peace with that. Names changed for obvious reasons. My wife Vanessa and I had been married for 4 years, together for 6. I'm 36, work in commercial real estate development. She's 32, in pharmaceutical sales. No kids, a mutual decision we revisited annually. I thought we were solid, not perfect, but solid. The revelation came on an ordinary Wednesday. I was having lunch alone at this bistro downtown. the kind with outdoor seating that blends into the next restaurant space. I'd gotten there early for a 1:30 meeting with a client who canceled last minute. Rather than head back to the office immediately, I decided to stay and eat, catching up on emails. I was halfway through my sandwich when a familiar laugh cut through the ambient noise. Vanessa was being seated at a table about 15 feet away, along with her friend Melissa. They hadn't seen me. I was partially hidden behind a large potted plant, and they were engrossed in conversation. I was about to call out when I heard my name. "So James still has no idea?" Melissa asked, leaning forward conspiratorially. Vanessa's laugh again, dismissive. "God no. He's completely clueless." I froze, fork suspended midair. Something in her tone made me stay silent, made me listen. "I've been cheating since our third date," Vanessa continued, sipping her wine. "Marriage just made it more exciting. There's something about wearing his ring while I'm with someone else that adds an extra thrill." Melissa giggled nervously. "How many guys are we talking about?" "Total? Maybe 12. Currently active, just 3. 3? How do you keep them straight?" "It's not that complicated. Eric is Tuesdays when James has his late meetings. Chris is for when James travels, and Michael is... well, Michael is special. More than just sex." I sat there completely still, hearing my wife casually deconstruct our entire relationship. She went on to detail her system for keeping her affairs hidden. Separate email accounts, a second phone, even a credit card I knew nothing about. "James makes it easy," she said. "He's so trusting, so predictable. Always home when he says he'll be. Always tells me his schedule. I know exactly where he is at all times. Aren't you afraid he'll find out?" "Sometimes I almost want him to," Vanessa admitted, lowering her voice slightly. "But he won't. He sees what he wants to see. And even if he did, what would he do? The house is in both our names. My name's on his accounts. He'd have to pay alimony. He's too practical to blow everything up." They moved on to other topics after that, but I'd heard enough. I paid my bill quietly and left, careful to stay out of their line of sight. I drove home in a state of eerie calm. No white-hot rage, no breakdown, just a cold, methodical clarity I'd never experienced before. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I had already formulated a plan. First, I called my lawyer, Graham. We'd played college lacrosse together, and he'd handled all my business contracts. I explained the situation briefly and asked how quickly he could prepare divorce papers. "I can have preliminary paperwork ready by Friday," he said. "But James, you need to be strategic here. Don't confront her yet. Document everything. Protect your assets." "Already on it," I replied. Next, I pulled up our financial accounts. Most were joint, a decision I'd never questioned until now. I didn't clean them out, that would be legally problematic, but I did transfer my most recent paycheck from our joint account to my personal account, which Vanessa didn't actively monitor. Then I made a list of everything Vanessa had acquired on my dime. The Audi I'd bought her for her 30th birthday, the designer handbags, the jewelry. All items that were technically gifts, legally hers, but which I knew she valued primarily as status symbols. Most importantly, I made a mental inventory of what I could live without versus what was irreplaceable to me. My grandfather's watch, photo albums, specific books and records, the vintage motorcycle in the garage that had been my father's. These would be prioritized. For the next 2 days, I maintained perfect normalcy. Had dinner with Vanessa, discussed mundane topics, even had sex when she initiated Wednesday night, all while mentally cataloging every lie, every work emergency, every girls' night that now made perfect sense. On Friday morning, Vanessa left for a conference in the city, a 3-day affair that I now understood was likely with special Michael. The moment her car left the driveway, I sprang into action. First stop, our bank. I removed Vanessa as an authorized user on my primary credit cards, the ones in my name only. I couldn't touch the joint cards yet without raising red flags, but I could prevent new charges on my personal accounts. Next, I called a buddy who owned a luxury car dealership. Explained I needed to sell an Audi immediately, even at a loss. The car was in my name, a gift to Vanessa but legally mine. He agreed to handle everything, no questions asked. Then I went home and systematically packed all my essential and irreplaceable items. Not everything. That would tip her off if she returned early. Just the things that truly mattered. These went into a storage unit I'd rented that morning. I contacted a high-end consignment shop about the designer items Vanessa had accumulated using my primary credit card. The owner, sensing a fire sale, came to the house that afternoon and made a fair offer for the lot. Handbags, shoes, unused clothing with tags still attached. All items Vanessa had purchased, worn once for Instagram, then relegated to the back of her closet. By evening, I'd signed a 6-month lease on an apartment across town, furnished with basics from a rental company. I'd set up mail forwarding for my personal items and changed all my passwords. I'd withdrawn my name from our joint gym membership, streaming services, and wine club subscription. Graham came through with preliminary divorce papers, not finalized, as that would take time, but enough to make my intentions crystal clear. I left these centered on the kitchen table with a brief note. I know everything. Don't try to contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. The consignment shop owner returned Saturday to collect the agreed-upon items. The Audi was towed to my friend's dealership. I took one last look around the house, then locked the door and left my key inside. By Saturday night, I was settled in my new apartment. I turned off my old phone, activated a new one with a new number, and waited. Vanessa returned Sunday evening, a day early from her conference. I know this because my home security cameras, which she didn't know could be accessed remotely, captured her arrival. I watched on my laptop as she entered the house, calling my name. Saw her confusion as she noticed things missing. Watched her rush upstairs, then returned to the kitchen where she found the divorce papers. Her face went through a remarkable transformation, confusion to shock to calculation to fear. She immediately called my phone. When that went straight to voicemail, she tried again and again. Eventually, she sat at the kitchen table, reading through the papers, her expression hardening into something between rage and panic. The text started around 8 p.m. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. This is insane. We need to talk. You can't just leave like this. It's childish. Please call me back. This is all a misunderstanding. By midnight, the tone had shifted. I made some mistakes, but you're overreacting. Everything I did was because something was missing between us. You're throwing away 6 years over nothing. Do you know how many women would kill to have what I had with you? I didn't respond to any of them, just documented each message methodically. The next morning, I went to work as usual, informed my boss of my situation, and requested that Vanessa not be allowed into the building. He agreed without pressing for details. That afternoon, Graham called to tell me Vanessa had shown up at his office, demanding to know where I was. He'd reminded her that communicating through counsel was standard procedure in divorces, particularly those involving infidelity. She'd left in tears, but not before threatening to ruin me if I didn't talk to her directly. Over the following days, Vanessa cycled through every manipulation tactic imaginable. She reached out to mutual friends, spinning a story about me having a mental breakdown. She showed up at my parents' house. They refused to give her my new address. She even filed a missing person report, which was quickly dismissed when I spoke to the officers. 2 weeks in, she changed strategies. Started leaving tearful voicemails about how sorry she was, how she'd do anything for another chance. When that didn't work, she threatened to take everything in the divorce. By week 3, she was claiming some of the missing items were irreplaceable family heirlooms that I'd stolen, items I had documentation for, and, in some cases, had never existed. Throughout all of this, I maintained complete silence. No responses, no engagement, nothing that could be twisted or used against me. Graham handled all communication, presenting evidence of her infidelity when necessary. The security cameras had caught her bringing men to our home while I traveled. Her second phone, which she'd accidentally left behind in her haste, provided additional proof. It's been 6 weeks now. The divorce is proceeding smoothly, all things considered. The house will be sold, assets divided according to the prenuptial agreement she'd signed without reading carefully. She'll get less than she expected, but more than she deserves. Vanessa still calls my old number every night between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., screaming, crying, begging. I know this because the voicemails forward to an email account I check weekly. I don't listen to them anymore, just document that they occurred and forward them to Graham. Last week, I ran into Melissa at a coffee shop. She looked uncomfortable but approached me anyway. "I'm sorry," she said simply. "If I'd known you were there that day." "You would have what?" I asked. "Warned her? Helped her maintain the lie?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but for what it's worth, she's a mess. She's lost weight, called in sick repeatedly. The pharmaceutical company is considering termination." I nodded, not out of concern but acknowledgement. Actions have consequences. As I turned to leave, Melissa asked, "Do you ever think about giving her another chance?" The question was so absurd, it nearly made me laugh. Would you trust someone who betrayed you for 6 years? Who had a system for cheating? Who gambled with your health by sleeping with multiple partners? "I guess not," she conceded. "Then you have your answer." I sometimes think about the version of me who sat in that bistro 6 weeks ago, trusting, oblivious, planning a future with a mirage. I don't pity him, but I'm grateful to no longer be him. The trust is gone, but so is the deception. The life I planned has vanished, but the one taking shape feels more authentic. Vanessa thought she had me figured out. Too practical, too predictable to blow everything up when confronted with her betrayal. She wasn't entirely wrong. I am practical. I am methodical. But she missed something crucial. Those qualities make for a calculated exit as much as a stable presence. She gambled that I would either never discover her affairs or would be too afraid of change to leave if I did. She lost that bet. Now we both live with the results. Update 3 months later. Since many asked for an update, here's where things stand. The divorce was finalized last week, faster than usual due to the prenup and overwhelming evidence. Vanessa appeared subdued at the final hearing, a shadow of her former confident self. She didn't contest anything in the end, likely advised by her lawyer that fighting would only drag out the inevitable and potentially cost her more. The house sold quickly in this market. After the mortgage was paid off, the remaining equity was split according to the prenup formula, 70-30 in my favor since I had made the down payment with premarital funds. Vanessa tried arguing that her contributions to the marriage warranted more, but the evidence of her systematic infidelity undermined any such claims. Professionally, I've thrived, channeled all the energy that used to go into my marriage into work instead, closed the 2 biggest deals of my career, which led to a promotion. Ironic that the collapse of my personal life coincided with professional advancement, but I'll take the win. Vanessa was indeed terminated from her pharmaceutical sales position. According to mutual connections, she's moved back to her hometown, working retail, while living with her parents. The glamorous life she constructed through my financial support has evaporated entirely. The nighttime calls finally stopped about a month ago. Her last voicemail was different from the others. No screaming, no crying, just a quiet acknowledgement. "I understand now why you did it this way. I wouldn't have listened otherwise. I'm sorry, for whatever that's worth." It's worth very little, to be honest. 6 years of lies can't be erased with one moment of clarity. As for me, I've started to rebuild. Bought a house in a different neighborhood, smaller but with good bones, a project to focus on. Reconnected with friends who'd fallen by the wayside during my marriage. Even started dating casually, though I'm transparent about my trust issues. Several people have criticized my approach as too calculated, suggesting I should have confronted Vanessa directly. To them, I ask, what would that have accomplished? Given her a chance to manipulate the narrative? Allowed her time to hide assets? Or fabricate counter-accusations? The clean break was not just emotionally necessary, it was strategically sound. Others have suggested my story is about revenge. It's not, it's about consequences. I didn't actively try to ruin Vanessa's life. I simply removed myself and my resources from it. The collapse that followed was entirely of her own making. The most valuable lesson from all this has been learning to trust my instincts. Looking back, there were dozens of red flags I rationalized away. Late nights, unexplained expenses, emotional distance followed by periods of intense affection. The signs were there, I just wasn't ready to read them. For anyone in a similar situation, protect yourself first. Emotions can be processed later, once you're safe from further manipulation. And remember that the person who could lie to your face for years is not the person you thought you married. Act accordingly. Edit to clarify. A few commenters questioned the legality of selling the Audi. The car was titled solely in my name, registered solely in my name, with insurance solely in my name, paid for entirely with my premarital funds. It was a gift in the social sense, but legally remained my property. I consulted with my attorney before taking any action to ensure everything was above board. During a family barbecue, she said, "He's just helping me heal. My real love story starts next year." Her uncle laughed. I just kept flipping burgers. That night I left and scheduled a moving truck for everything I bought. She came back to a bare apartment. I met Allie 2 years ago at a local dive bar. I was there watching a basketball game with some buddies, and she was there with her girlfriend celebrating someone's promotion. Our eyes met across the room, and the rest played out like a cheesy rom-com. We talked all night, exchanged numbers, and started dating a week later. Allie was fun, outgoing, and seemed genuinely into me. She laughed at my lame jokes, showed interest in my hobbies, and made me feel like I mattered. After 6 months, we decided to move in together. Her lease was ending, and it made financial sense. I had a decent 1-bedroom apartment that I'd been in for about 3 years. Here's the thing about our arrangement. I paid the rent. Allie covered utilities and groceries, which was fair since my rent was significantly more than those combined. I'd also furnished the entire place myself before she moved in. I'm talking everything: couch, TV, bed, dining table, kitchenware, even the shower curtain. Allie brought her clothes, some decorative pillows, and a couple of potted plants. Things were good for the first year. We had our disagreements like any couple, but nothing major. Then Allie lost her job. She worked in marketing for a startup that went under. Suddenly, she couldn't cover her share of expenses. I told her not to worry, that I'd handle everything until she found something new. It was tight, but I made it work. 3 months went by. Allie applied to a few places but didn't seem particularly motivated to find work. She spent most days binge-watching shows and scrolling through social media. When I'd gently ask about her job search, she'd get defensive and say things like, "Do you know how hard it is out there?" Or, "I'm not just going to take any job." I backed off, not wanting to pressure her when she was already down. Instead, I picked up extra shifts at the warehouse where I worked as a supervisor. The overtime helped cover our expenses, but I was exhausted. Still, I told myself this was temporary. That's what partners do. They support each other through tough times. Fast forward to last month. Allie finally got a job offer from a marketing agency. It wasn't her dream role, but it was in her field and paid well. I was thrilled. We celebrated with a nice dinner, and I thought things would get back to normal. Then came the family barbecue. Allie's family lived about an hour away, and we'd visit them once a month or so. Her parents were nice enough, if a bit snobbish. They'd never said it outright, but I always got the sense they thought Allie could do better than a warehouse supervisor. Her extended family was a mixed bag, some friendly, some not so much. This particular barbecue was at her Uncle Dave's place. He had a huge backyard with a built-in grill, pool, the works. About 20 family members were there, plus a few friends of the family. I volunteered to man the grill because, honestly, it gave me something to do and kept me from awkward small talk. I was flipping burgers when Allie came over with her cousin Jen and Jen's new boyfriend. They were talking about relationships, and Jen asked how Allie and I were doing. What happened next still plays in my head on repeat. "Oh, you know," Allie said with a dismissive wave. "He's just helping me heal. My real love story starts next year." Her Uncle Dave, who was standing nearby getting a beer from the cooler, laughed. Not a shocked laugh, but an amused one, like he was in on some joke. Jen looked uncomfortable and quickly changed the subject. They walked away, leaving me standing there, spatula in hand, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I just kept flipping burgers. For the rest of the barbecue, I went through the motions. I smiled when appropriate, made small talk, and pretended I hadn't heard my girlfriend of 2 years basically say I was nothing but a placeholder until something better came along. On the drive home, Allie chatted about family gossip, completely oblivious to the fact that my world had just imploded. Or maybe she knew exactly what she'd done and didn't care. Either way, I kept quiet, nodding occasionally as my mind raced. We got home around 9 p.m. Allie said she was tired from the sun and was going to take a shower and go to bed. I said I was going to watch TV for a bit. As soon as I heard the bathroom door close and the shower start, I got to work. I didn't want a confrontation. I didn't want tears or excuses or gaslighting. I just wanted out. I packed a duffel bag with clothes and essentials. I grabbed my important documents from the filing cabinet. I took pictures of everything in the apartment that I'd purchased, making a detailed inventory on my phone. Then I went online and scheduled a moving company for 11 a.m. the next day, a Monday, when I knew Allie would be at her new job. I texted my buddy Mike and asked if I could crash at his place for a few days. He replied with a thumbs up and no questions asked. After getting Mike's confirmation, I also went online and reserved a storage unit at a nearby facility. They had a special first-month deal with 24-hour access, which was perfect for my situation. I wrote a short note and left it on the kitchen counter. Allie, I heard what you said at the barbecue. I'm not anyone's placeholder or healing journey. I've arranged for movers to pick up my belongings tomorrow. I've paid rent through the end of the month, so you have time to figure out your next steps. Since only my name is on the lease, you'll need to talk to the landlord about taking it over or finding a new place. Don't call me. Jason. Then I left, quietly closing the door behind me. That night at Mike's, I turned off my phone. I didn't want to deal with the inevitable barrage of calls and texts that would come once Allie read my note. I lay on his couch staring at the ceiling, feeling a mix of pain, anger, and, surprisingly, relief. Like I'd just put down a heavy weight I'd been carrying for too long. The next day, I called in sick to work. I also sent an email to my boss explaining that I was dealing with a personal emergency and might need a couple more days off. He was understanding. I rarely missed work and had plenty of sick days accumulated. I met the movers at my apartment at 11 a.m. as planned. Allie was gone, her car not in its usual spot. I let the movers in and directed them on what to take, referring to my inventory list. Couch, TV, bed, dining table, all my kitchen stuff, my books, my gaming console. Everything that was mine. I had hired a 3-person crew specifically because I knew there was a lot to move, and some items like the bed frame and dining table would need disassembly. I'd brought along folders with receipts for the major purchases I'd made before Ally moved in, just in case any questions came up later about ownership. Everything was clearly documented as my property. I'd rented a small storage unit the night before, and that's where most of it went. Some essentials came with me to Mike's. By 3:30 p.m., the movers were done. It had taken longer than expected, nearly 4.5 hours, but they worked efficiently given the amount of furniture and belongings. I did a final walkthrough of the apartment. It looked barren now, almost unrecognizable. Just a few decorative pillows on the floor where the couch had been. A couple of potted plants on the windowsill. Ally's clothes in the closet. I left my key on the counter next to the note, which hadn't been moved. I also dropped off a copy of the key and a letter explaining the situation to my landlord's office, formally notifying them that while I'd paid through the end of the month, I would not be renewing the lease. Then I left for good. Around 5:30 p.m., my phone, which I'd turned back on, exploded with notifications. Calls, texts, voicemails, all from Ally. I didn't read or listen to any of them. Instead, I blocked her number immediately. Shortly after blocking her number, the social media messages started coming in. First pleading, then angry, then back to pleading. Jason, please call me. I can explain. WTF? You took everything? This is so childish. It was just a joke. Please come back. I didn't mean it. I blocked her on all social media platforms too. The next wave came from her friends. They called me selfish, immature, cruel. According to them, I'd left poor Allie with nothing but the clothes on her back, not true, and no warning, also not true. I blocked them too. Finally, her sister called. I almost didn't answer, but decided to hear what she had to say. What you did was cold, she started, but I get it. What Allie said was messed up. She's been saying stuff like that to her friends for months. That was another gut punch. Months? While I was working overtime to support her? She's staying with our parents for now. Her sister continued. They're helping her buy some basic furniture. She'll be okay. Good to hear, I said, my voice flat. For what it's worth, I think she really does care about you. She's just, I don't know, lost, maybe. That's not my problem anymore. No, I guess it's not. She paused. Take care, Jason. That was 2 weeks ago. I'm still at Mike's, but I'm looking for a new place. I've heard through mutual friends that Allie's parents bought her a new couch and bed, and she's back in the apartment. Our apartment. Her apartment now. I went back to work after 2 days, thus having sorted out my immediate living situation at Mike's. My boss was supportive, especially after I briefly explained I had gone through a sudden breakup and needed to move unexpectedly. I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts again. Not because I needed the money this time, but because it kept my mind occupied. Some people have told me I went too far, that taking everything was cruel. But here's how I see it. I paid for all of it. Every single item. I had documentation and receipts proving it was all purchased before she moved in, or solely with my money during our relationship. And more importantly, I'd paid all the rent for months while she contributed nothing. Not just financially, but emotionally too. I was working myself to exhaustion to support someone who saw me as nothing more than a stepping stone to something better. I won't pretend I'm not hurt. I am. But I'm also angry, and that anger has kept me from calling her, from giving in to those moments of weakness where I miss the good times. Because the thing is, I deserve better than to be someone's healing journey. I deserve to be someone's destination. Update. 3 months later. A lot has happened since my last post, so I thought I'd give you all an update. First, I found my own place about a month ago. It's a small studio, but it's all mine, and I've set it up exactly how I want. I got most of my stuff out of storage, sold a few things that didn't fit in the new place, and bought some new items too. Fresh start, fresh furniture. As for Allie, she tried to contact me a few more times after my original post. She even showed up at my workplace once, but security didn't let her in. Eventually, she seemed to get the message and stopped trying. Then, about a month ago, I ran into her cousin Jen at a coffee shop. She told me Allie had moved back in with her parents and was subletting the apartment. Apparently, even with her new job, she couldn't afford the rent on her own. No surprise there. She tells everyone you abandoned her, Jen said, but I was there. I heard what she said at the barbecue, and it wasn't the first time she'd something like that. Jen went on to explain that Allie had a pattern of using people as emotional crutches, then discarding them when she felt healed or ready to move on. She'd done it with friends, previous boyfriends, even jobs. The family enables it, Jen admitted. Especially her parents. They bail her out every time. That's why Uncle Dave laughed at the barbecue. He's seen this movie before. Jen also explained that Allie's new job wasn't paying as much as she'd led me to believe. It was an entry-level position with potential for growth, but the starting salary was modest. Combined with her poor money management and the full rent being about twice what she could afford on her current salary, there was no way she could maintain the apartment on her own. I thanked Jen for her honesty. It didn't make me feel better about what happened, but it did confirm I'd made the right decision. 2 weeks after that coffee shop encounter, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Allie, writing from a new phone. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to say this. I'm sorry. What I said was horrible, and you didn't deserve it. I've been doing a lot of thinking and talking to a therapist, and I realize now how much I took you for granted. I miss you. I miss us. Is there any chance we could talk? I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it completely. Another part wanted to respond with anger. In the end, I opted for honesty. Allie, I appreciate the apology, but it's too late. What you said at the barbecue wasn't a slip-up or a bad joke. It was a glimpse into how you really saw me, as temporary, as less than what you really wanted. I deserve better than that. I hope your therapy helps you, and I hope your real love story works out, but it won't be with me. She replied immediately. I understand. I really am sorry. For what it's worth, you were always too good for me. I just couldn't see it. I didn't respond to that. There was nothing left to say. Last week, I got promoted at work. I'm now a logistics manager with better hours and better pay. I've also started dating again, casually for now. Nothing serious, just getting back out there. As for the cruel act of taking everything from the apartment, I have no regrets. Some lessons need to be hard to be effective. Allie learned that her actions and words have consequences. I learned that I need to value myself more and not ignore red flags. In a strange way, I'm grateful for that, Baba too. If I hadn't overheard Allie's comment, I might have wasted years with someone who saw me as nothing more than a pit stop on her journey to something better. Instead, I'm now on my own journey, and for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to see where it leads. Her male best friend mocked me at dinner. She could do way better than you. I shut him down in front of everyone. She snapped, apologize or we're over. I smiled. I didn't say a word, but when she came home weeks later, she finally learned what done really means. For 3 years, my life with Anna was good. Great, even. I'm a lawyer, so my day job is basically wading through the worst parts of human nature. Coming home to her was like taking a breath of fresh air. She was a paralegal, smart as a whip, and had this fire in her to go to law school and make a name for herself. I loved that about her. We were a team, building a life in a house I'd spent years restoring. It felt solid, real. I wasn't just paying bills for a girlfriend, I was investing in the woman I was going to marry. But there was always this static, a low-level hum of something not being quite right. And that static had a name, Leo. Leo was her best friend from college. He was a graphic designer, one of those guys who calls himself an artist and acts like working a 9-to-5 is a fate worse than death. Meanwhile, he was designing menus for taco joints to barely make his rent. To hear Anna tell it, he was her ride or die, her platonic soulmate, the guy who protected her. To me, he was a leech with a superiority complex, and he had made it his life's mission to undermine our relationship. He was a pro at it, I'll give him that. He never did anything you could call him out on directly. It was all subtle digs, little poison darts disguised as compliments. Her ex-boyfriend, Alex, a musician who'd broken her heart, was his favorite topic. If I took Anna on a nice vacation to Mexico, Leo would find a way to bring up some spontaneous camping trip he and Anna took once. "Remember that, Anna?" he'd say, all wistful. "You can't plan moments like that. You just have to be with someone who gets your free spirit." The message was always the same. I was the boring, safe choice, and he was the gatekeeper to the exciting life she was leaving behind. And Anna? She ate it up with a spoon. She was completely snowed by his protective friend act. Anytime I'd even hint that he was out of line, she'd get defensive. "He's just being Leo. He was there for me when Alex shattered my heart. He's just worried about me. He's family, Jack. I'm a patient guy. You have to be in my line of work. You don't jump on the first piece of evidence. You wait. You let the other side talk. You let them build their own case against themselves, and you wait for them to hand you the rope." I waited for Leo to hand me the rope. The moment came a month ago. I just won the biggest case of my career. 6 months of my life, gone. Countless sleepless nights, weekends spent buried in paperwork. But we won, and it was a huge deal for my firm and for me. To celebrate, I threw a dinner party. My closest friends, the ones who'd barely seen me for half a year, were all there. And because I was still trying to be the good guy, I told Anna to invite her friends, which of course meant Leo was coming. The night was perfect. The house was full of good people, the expensive wine I'd been saving was open, and I was actually relaxing for the first time in what felt like forever. Leo naturally was soaking up the free booze and acting like he co-owned the place. He got a few drinks in him and decided it was time for a performance. He started on some long, boring tangent about an art exhibit, which was really just an excuse to talk about the difference between creators and suits. "It's just a different way of seeing the world," he said, looking right at me. "Some of us are driven by passion, by art. Others are more practical." He took a long, slow sip of my wine. My friends knew his game and were shooting him looks that could curdle milk. I just gave him a tight smile and refused to engage. But he wasn't done. He turned to Anna, putting on his best concerned friend face. "I just hope you're happy, Anna," he said, his voice dripping with fake sincerity. "I mean, Jack's a great guy. He's stable, he's a provider, he's reliable." He said reliable like it was a dirty word. Then he paused, looked me dead in the eye, and let a smug little smirk spread across his face. "But you've got to admit, she could do way better than you." And there it was. The rope. The whole table went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. My friends looked like they were about to physically restrain themselves from launching across the table. Anna just stared at her plate, blushing. She wasn't mad at him. She was just embarrassed that he'd made a scene. That was the moment the focus snapped into place for me. The picture became crystal clear. The patient lawyer was gone. The man who had just been fundamentally disrespected in his own home, in front of his friends, by a man who was living off his generosity, was now running the show. I put my fork and knife down, very slowly. I folded my hands on the table and fixed my eyes on Leo. The friendly host had left the building. The prosecutor had just taken his place at the podium. "That's a bold claim, Leo," I said. My voice was dangerously quiet. "I'm interested in your reasoning. In your expert opinion, what does a better man for Anna look like? Please, be specific. Lay out the criteria for me." Leo was completely thrown. He was geared up for a shouting match. He wasn't prepared for a calm, methodical cross-examination. Well, he stammered. "Someone more on her level. A creative, someone who gets her." "I see," I said, nodding. "So the main qualification is being a creative. An interesting theory. And I assume you see yourself as fitting this description?" "I think I understand her better than anyone," he said, puffing out his chest. "Perfect," I said. "So you're the gold standard. Let's examine that. Let's add a few other factors to this analysis. Let's talk about something more concrete than vibes. Let's talk about investment. As everyone here knows, Anna is in her second year of law school. It's a top-tier program with a price tag to match. I'm paying for that, the whole thing. It's a major investment of capital, of course, but it's also an investment of faith. Faith in her and faith in our future together. So my question for you, Leo, as the self-appointed gold standard of what's better for Anna, is this. What have you invested in her future lately, other than your consistently negative opinions of me?" Leo's face went white. Anna shot me a panicked look. "Jack, don't do this," she whispered. I held up a hand to silence her. My eyes still locked on Leo. "I'm not done. Let's talk about the car she drives. It's safe, it's reliable, it gets her to school and back. I bought it for her. Now, you have a car too, right, Leo? A cool little convertible that seems to break down a lot. In fact, Anna has had to loan you money for repairs at least 3 times in the last 6 months, hasn't she? Money that she took from the household account that, by the way, I'm the only one who deposits into. So in a very real sense, Leo, I'm not just investing in Anna's future, I'm also paying to keep your little hipster mobile on the road. You're welcome." One of my buddies at the table actually snorted with laughter before covering it with a cough. Leo looked like he'd been slapped. "And finally," I said, leaning forward, my voice dropping, "let's talk about this house. The roof over her head. I own it, I pay the mortgage, I fix the things that break. You, on the other hand, have been late on your rent so many times that Anna has had to cover for you, again, with money that I earned. So let me just summarize your argument for the jury, for the table. Your position is that a man who provides a stable home, a reliable car, and a fully funded, top-tier education is an inferior choice for Anna, and that a better man, by your definition, is one who is a financial black hole, who drains her resources, and who repays her kindness by systematically trying to sabotage her relationship out of what can only be a pathetic, transparent, and deeply creepy obsession. Is that a fair and accurate summary of your position, Leo?" I leaned back. The closing argument was done. The room was utterly silent. Leo was a broken man, a witness who had just been torn to shreds on the stand. He just sat there, humiliated, unable to speak. I looked at my friends who were all staring at Leo with open contempt. Then I looked at Anna. Her face was a storm of emotions. But the one that won, the one that broke through the shock and embarrassment, wasn't relief. It wasn't gratitude. It was pure, white-hot fury. She shot up from her chair, the legs scraping violently against the floor. Her whole body was shaking. "I cannot believe you just did that," she hissed. "You humiliated him, in front of everyone." "He humiliated himself, Anna," I said, my voice tired now. "I just presented the evidence." "Apologize to him," she demanded, her eyes blazing with a fire that was aimed entirely at me. "Right now, apologize to my best friend for what you just did. Apologize, or we are over." And there it was, the ultimatum, the final piece of evidence. She was standing next to the wreckage of a man who had just been exposed as a manipulative parasite, and she was defending him. She was choosing him. The love I had for her didn't just die, it was executed. I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw her with perfect clarity. I didn't get mad. I didn't yell. I just smiled. A small, sad, and completely final smile. I didn't say another word. I stood up, picked up my wine glass, and walked into the kitchen, leaving her standing alone in the silent dining room. The case was closed. The verdict was in. The aftermath of that dinner was swift. Anna and Leo left together in a cloud of drama. She moved in with him that night, a decision I'm sure was made in the heat of her rage and his humiliation. In her mind, she'd thrown down the gauntlet. She was waiting for me to come crawling back, to apologize, to do whatever it took to fix what I had broken. She had no idea that I had simply accepted her terms. For 2 weeks, I went completely dark. I didn't answer her calls. I didn't reply to the barrage of angry, then confused, then pleading texts. I ignored the mutual friends she sent to plead her case. I was a ghost. Instead of chasing her, I got to work. My house, which had felt like our home, now felt like a crime scene. I spent a weekend methodically packing every single thing she owned into boxes. It wasn't an angry act, it was a cleansing. I was an executor, settling the estate of a dead relationship. When I was done, I stacked the boxes in the spare room, changed all the locks, and reset the security codes. Then I made 2 phone calls. They were not pleasant, but they were necessary. They were the logical consequences of the verdict she had delivered at that dinner party. The first call was to the dean of admissions at her law school. I had a good relationship with him from my alumni work. I explained in calm, professional terms that due to a permanent change in my personal circumstances, the private scholarship fund I had set up to cover Anna's tuition was being dissolved, effective immediately. The second call was to the managing partner at my firm. I had pulled a lot of strings to get Anna a coveted summer internship there. It was a career maker. I explained that a severe and irreconcilable personal conflict of interest had arisen, and the offer had to be rescinded. I took no joy in this, but my support for her was based on the foundation of our partnership. She had taken a sledgehammer to that foundation. She could no longer live in the house. Exactly 2 weeks after the dinner, she showed up at my door. I watched her on the security camera fumbling with her key, her confusion turning to anger when it didn't work. She finally rang the bell. I opened the door, leaving the security chain on. She looked awful. The righteous anger was gone, replaced by a weary desperation. The reality of living with a broke narcissistic artist had clearly been a harsh one. "Jack, we need to talk," she said. "No, Anna, we don't," I replied. "You made your choice. The conversation is over." "You can't just throw away 3 years over one fight," she pleaded, tears starting to form. I was angry. I wasn't thinking. "It wasn't a fight," I said. "It was a moment of truth. You were given a clear choice between your partner and the man who has been trying to destroy our relationship. And you chose him. You demanded that I apologize to him. You chose to defend the parasite. That's not something I can forget." The panic was starting to set in as she realized I wasn't budging. "But everything we planned," she stammered. "Law school, the internship?" "Yes, about that," I said, letting the silence stretch. "The tuition for your final semester is due next week, isn't it? I hope you and Leo have a plan for that because my investment in our future has been terminated." Her face went white. "What?" she whispered. "And the internship at my firm," I continued, relentlessly. "That offer has been rescinded. The firm takes conflicts of interest very seriously." She actually stumbled back, her hand flying to her mouth. The internship was her golden ticket. The future she had been so sure of was evaporating before her eyes. "You can't do that," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Jack, please, you can't." "I already have," I said. "Actions have consequences. You gave me an ultimatum. Apologize or we're over. I chose over. Now you get to live with the consequences. Go ask Leo for help, the man who is so much better than me. I'm sure his creative genius includes a plan to pay for your $50,000 tuition and replace the career you just lost." I closed the door on her tear-streaked face. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I just felt quiet. The trial was over. The aftermath was predictable. Anna's life fell apart. She had to drop out of law school just months from graduating. The dream was dead. She and Leo are apparently still living together in his tiny apartment. I've heard from friends that it's a special kind of hell. She's consumed by resentment for what he cost her, and he's stuck with a woman who is a constant, bitter reminder of his own inadequacy. He got the girl, but he got a broken version of her that he can't afford to fix. I didn't do this for revenge. I did it for myself. A relationship is a contract, and she violated the most fundamental clause: loyalty. My actions weren't a punishment. They were an enforcement of the terms. She wanted to know what done really means. Now she knows. It means the support stops, the investment ends, and the builder walks off the site, leaving you in the wreckage of the house you helped burn down.